So Celebrations is one of those sets. We know it's going to be high demand, we know it's going to be straight gas, and it's a pretty well-deserved reputation for a set that is looking to be flat out one of the best in recent history. But with all that said, prices are getting a little bit out of hand, and in today's video, I wanted to take some time to take a minute, stop, and reflect on why those prices are so high, as well as wax philosophically about maybe why you should hold off on buying some of this stuff at those crazy pre-order prices. But before we get started, as always, roll that intro. Hey Gengar Gang, what is going on? My name is Ryan, this is the Analytic Gengar, and welcome to another video. In today's video, friends, we talk about celebrations and scalper prices. Now, ironically enough, today's video isn't about the nefarious scalper or the ethereal scalper that stalks the aisles of Target looking for a quick buck. I'm talking about established trading card stores and well-respected sellers, even in our own community, who are doing a little bit more than just selling celebrations at MSRP. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to give you my stance on it and hopefully share and educate anybody who chooses to watch the video on why I'm holding off on pulling the trigger and buying some of this stuff at those crazy high prices. Now, to recap, Celebrations is going to be our 25th anniversary set. As you can see on screen, it's going to be a huge expansion in terms of the types of cards. They're going to be legendary and mythical Pokemon, other beloved Pokemon, and much like many special sets, it will be explicitly sort of boxed off in its own little release. So as you can see on screen, Celebrations booster packs will not be sold separately, so you gotta look for them in special collections. So here's an example of what one of those special collections could look like. It's going to be a promo card. In this case, it's going to be a prime card with celebrations packs as well as a vivid voltage pack. In addition to that, you'll have other types of boxes like this Charizard and the Sylveon parts, both of which are pretty neat because they're like different types of cards. So you're going to have Lance's Charizard, you're going to have a Dark Sylveon, which makes no sense but still sounds pretty dope. You'll have a Zamazenta Level X, which again is a Pokemon that was released in Gen 6, a card type from the trading card game from Generation 4, so again a pretty dope crossover. You'll have the Celebrations Elite Trainer Box, the pins, blah 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 blah. Long story short, you'll have tons of different products to collect, many of which are going to be straight up amazing, and it's going to be a great time. However, of course, we aren't allowed to have a great time in this hobby sometimes, and that's where we're at today. So, why am I saying that? Well, I'm going to click on TCG Player, because TCG Player is going to show the prices without showing the sellers' names, and I don't want no issues with you people. But if you look on eBay, on any large marketplace, on Instagram, some of the folks in this community as well as outside this community are now offering pre-sales or pre-orders. And as you can see, just as an example, a $50 Elite Trainer box is selling as low as, quote unquote, $127.45. That is effectively 150 times percent MSRP. That is disgusting. Enough said. This ultra premium collection, nearly positive it's supposed to be a $100 box, and I understand it has a gold Charizard and a gold Pikachu in it, but selling it for $417.90 or 400% MSRP is a little bit, like maybe just a little bit too much, you know what I mean? Now here's the thing. You may say, well, Ryan, this is TCG Player and it's clearly biased, but to that I would say you're wrong, because if you go on many of the different websites or Instagram pages, you'll see people who have been posting about their pre-orders, and their pre-orders are very frequently at a very, very high price and with some really restrictive, if not just terrible pre-order policies, some of which include no refunds and you get the product when you get the product. There is no guaranteed delivery date. So let's take a brief moment to recap the past 18 months, because I do believe they have been some of the most consequential months in the hobby of this history for a variety of reasons. One of those reasons is the following. Many sellers in our hobby now believe it is okay to charge slightly less than scalpers because it's still cheaper than paying scalper prices. Problem is, that's not okay, that's not cool, and you shouldn't do it. Period, end of story. Sorry. Oh well. Hear me out. Now, back in the day, and by back in the day I mean early 2020, magically, everyone had no issues selling at retail or below retail. So it's kind of funny because if you look at prices now and the way people's attitudes have changed, especially major sellers' attitudes have changed, it's kind of interesting to look back about 18 months ago when things were so different and think how swiftly attitudes and the overall demeanor changed. Now, mind you, this isn't every seller, and there are still many people who, if they get product, will pass it along to you at distributor pricing, or MSRP. There are other people who are being forced to sell at above MSRP, and that is primarily driven by the fact that, unfortunately, their distributor is passing it on to them. But I know for a fact there exist sellers out there that have the ideal situation. They have distributors that are at or near retail. They will be able to sell at or near retail at a profit, and yet consistently choose to raise their prices simply to match that of the overall market, fully realizing that all of that money will unfortunately simply be going back into their pocket. And that is really, really unfortunate because it's not going to do anything to help normalize or expedite the recovery that this hobby needs to go through for its current modern market. Specifically, that market where things don't need to sell for 400 times the price it's going to sell for at Target. That's just manipulative and a bad selling practice in general. But to briefly recap how we got here, many sellers were struggling to get product over the course of the past 18 months. We had increased demand, decreased supply, and it created an environment rich for scalpers. Scalpers would go and either raid out the online retail outlets or the in-store outlets. They would grab the stuff, throw it up on eBay, and chances are by the time you were in the parking lot, your item had already sold on Facebook Marketplace, on eBay, etc., etc. Now, because of this, there was a small group of individuals who attempted to raise their prices, because the idea is as a small local gaming store, as an example, you can raise your prices and deter people from scalping. Because if you could go to Target and buy something for $50, or if you could go to my local gaming store and buy it for $80, it gives a hobbyist a chance to walk in, pay slightly above MSRP and buy a Shining Fates Elite Trainer box, let's just say. And then this way, the scalper won't even bother with you because they're not going to make as much money as they would if they go straight to Target. So in a way, it works as a price deterrent, which is a term that I've used before. Now, all things said, one of the major issues that unfortunately ended up getting caused by all of this is that a lot of people soon realized that they could do a little bit of a money grab, because if scalpers are selling a Shining Fates Elite Trainer box for $100 and Target sells them for $50, but you can't find any at Target, I can sell them for $75. I still make $25 extra. I'm doing no additional work, so it's just money straight into my pocket, and it's still cheaper than if you were to purchase it at a scalper price. And that stinks, because unfortunately what ends up happening in situations like that is people tend to get a little spoiled, because there's a point where you can get away with this and there's no consequence, because you're still selling at a price cheaper than what a scalper would sell it for, so you're technically not the bad guy. But what you'll find is that for the most part, product is highly available now, especially when compared to certain periods of time over the past couple of years. So, in the grand scheme of things, you have a situation where there's more product and people got spoiled and really like the high prices and extra money that they were so very frequently blessed with. Now, PTCG Radio made an excellent statement, and this is in a video from way back when, but he said we should be supporting the businesses, especially the sellers, that have kept it 100% real with us the entire way through. Meaning, if they got screwed from the distributor, they would unfortunately be forced to pass those costs along on to us, but whenever they had an opportunity to do something proper or sell at MSRP, they did so. those are the same businesses that were very quick to return to near normal pricing. So when we got this most recent reprint of Vivid Voltage that occurred over this summer of 2021, where we saw a flood of booster boxes, they were the first people to sell for $1.20 instead of trying to hawk these things for $1.80, acting like that was a good deal. Mind you, these boxes should, would, and could sell for about $100 a piece. So 120 is still plenty of markup, but it's better than trying to convince us that it's still a $200 booster box when we all know the only reason that was because there was high demand and Pokemon literally could not print more of this stuff if they tried because of the shutdowns that occurred in 2020. So we end up in a really weird and awkward situation because many of the sellers in this hobby will soon face a pretty strong reckoning. I've heard tons of folks say that gone are the days of MSRP or gone are the days of below MSRP selling on booster boxes, where MSRP is technically $143, which is the $4 per pack multiplied by the 36 packs in a booster box. Now those people have already been proven so incredibly incorrect, so incredibly misinformed, and so incredibly biased that it's actually painful to watch those videos now because they convinced themselves that they could sell this stuff for $143 a piece. Guess what their websites have this stuff listed at right now? $1.20, $1.10. Battle Styles, they're selling it for $88 a piece. So just goes to show you that right now we're going through a really weird and fictitious time in this hobby because many sellers who are unfortunately at times looked to as a source of authority and a source of guidance in this community are unfortunately coming to grips with the reality that they're not going to be able to get away with what they have been getting away with for some period of time. And again, bear in mind, this isn't every seller. I know many, many, many amazing sellers, and we're probably going to agree if I started naming them because you know these are the real people in the hobby out here really working for the hobbyists, for the collectors, and for the betterment of the hobby in general. Then you have people who, hop on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and go out of their way to tell you how expensive booster boxes are going to be and why this is the new normal, only to then immediately about face and start selling the stuff for cheaper because they were so very wrong and they were just trying to say that to make sure their prices stayed up. And again, I don't know that any of this is actually true, but it's just very coincidental that they would say that, happen to be selling booster boxes at that same time, and now have been forced to reduce their prices. And of course, there's a very quick defense to all of this. Oh, well, my distributors lowered their prices, so I was able to pass that along. No, had you had a chance and you didn't realize that at 144 Battle Styles would never sell for anybody, you would probably have kept prices incredibly high, because if Battle Styles was that pop in a set, you'd probably sell it for $1.44. The only reason you lowered the prices is because no one would buy it from you, because I'd just go on eBay and buy them and get eBay bucks anyway. So it's one of those situations. I very frequently try to avoid being so opinionated, as well as so very clearly energetic, I'll put it, in videos, but this is one of those topics. Like, I never really understand why and how those biases come into play. And mind you, I don't deal much in the modern market, so I could be speaking from a point of inexperience as well, and I'll fully admit that. I'm a vintage Pokemon collector. I specialize in the stuff, blah, blah, blah. But you know what I do? I watch prices, I understand trends, and I understand bias. And those three things are very clear in the current situation that we have playing out. I've seen many memes that say celebrations, blah, blah, blah. Or is it celebrating profit? And in many ways, yeah, it is. Because if these prices on screen right now are indicative of the prices that exist across the universe for these types of Pokemon product, meanwhile this stuff is going to be printed, it's just manipulative to charge anybody who pre-orders from you this type of money for something. There is a pretty strong chance that you're going to go into Target come October, or Walmart, or Myers, or wherever you shop, and I nearly guarantee you this stuff will be so abundant because Pokemon knows that they will print this stuff and all of it will sell out anyway. So I have a feeling this is going to be much like Shining Fates. For many people who don't know, pre-orders were in the hundreds, if not the high 90s for Elite Trainer boxes. Sooner or later, it was about $62. And nowadays, you can catch ETBs on the Pokemon Center website for $50 with free shipping, purchase limit of 4. So just a clean, easy example of how there's a lot of hype. People do the best they can, especially certain sellers, do the absolute best that they can to hype it up, to manipulate, to exaggerate, and to really kind of overstate the amount of product. And then they trap you in with really, really crappy terms and conditions, like no refunds, as well as you get the product when you get the product. It's not in my hands. And then, on top of everything else, not only are you paying a crazy price, but those terms are simply unacceptable, especially when so much product is likely to be printed. So, main takeaway for today's video, please don't pre-order celebrations. I am not going to do it. I refuse to do it. And you know what? I'm going to die on this hill. This is one of those times where I'm not going to make a point and say like, oh, but if it happens the other way, it's fine. No, I haven't ordered anything as a pre-order for celebrations. And I say that because I am convinced that paying above MSRP is stupid. I know for a fact that Pokemon recognizes how crazy hype this set is going to be, and if you think this set isn't going to be printed maliciously with the raw, pure intention of selling as much of it as possible, I am sorry, but you have no clue how supply and demand works. All that said, if I'm right, and again, I'm prepared to die on this hill so you can come back and make fun of me if I was wrong, but if I'm right and they print as much product as possible, you're going to have a lot of people go to war over the fact that you were paying $417 for something that costs $100. And I'll be fully honest with everyone watching this video up till this point. I've gotten more or less jammed up on 2 types of pre-orders. Shining Fates, I did buy in when it was about $80 and it went down to $50, so obviously I'm a loser in the short run. And then for Chilling Reign, I also got jammed up where I still haven't received the majority of the product that I pre-ordered, and at the same time, I am stuck because I can't get out of that pre-order, and literally Evolving Skies is coming out in 2 weeks. So, on top of everything else, those are the 2 pre-order sets that I got jammed up on, and I've gotten such bad vibes from the sellers who are doing this stuff that at this point I've decided I'm not pre-ordering unless it's GameStop, thePokemonCenter.com, or another major retailer that sells this stuff at MSRP, because many sellers in our hobby are unfortunately biased right now. They will do anything to convince you because they have gotten spoiled with the way prices have been, and unfortunately we have to question the motives behind many of these sellers, especially when they are selling at such exorbitantly high markups compared to MSRP. Now, all that said, I might be wrong and these guys might be purely intentional and might only have the best intentions at heart because, hey, my distributor's charging $350. Oh geez, I don't know, here's an idea. Push back, fight for the hobby, fight for the people, realize that the stuff is going to get printed maliciously. I don't know. Whatever the case is, I think there is a strong bias at play here, and I think that if anything, and in the rare event that this video blows up and gets millions of views, I would hope at a bare minimum this starts a conversation. That's all I'm saying, right? Everything I've said up till now is anecdotal. I wish I had screenshots. I certainly do not, nor do I claim to. It's why I haven't mentioned anyone in specific. But what I will say is this. I think it's a general attitude. I think it's a general vibe out there in the hobby right now, especially on the sell side of the equation and especially on the modern side of the equation. And so it is my humble theory that they're going to face a reckoning sooner or later regarding a lot of this stuff, especially when they realize how much is going to get printed. But with all that said, friends, thanks again for checking out another video. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, or you learned anything new about celebrations, pre-orders, and the risks that come with it, as well as the attitudes that some sellers might be approaching pre-orders with, definitely feel free to leave a like down below on the video. Let me know in the comments if you've had any less than pleasant experience with pre-orders, and as always, if you're not already a member, feel free to join the Gengar Gang by subscribing down below. Other than that, as always, thank you for checking out another video and for sticking around till the end, and we will talk soon. Peace.